Hmm.
All right, Adam, we are live.
Yes. Yeah.
Exciting. We got thousands of people watching us now. We're famous. We've made it. It's good news.
Yeah.
So, all right, my name's Tom Toronto. I'm the CEO of SWP, the Saitama Wolfpack, which is a meme token on the Solana blockchain. And here tonight, I'm interviewing Adam Shelton, aka the Captain.
Yes.
And we're going to get down into some questions here, and we're going to ask him a little bit about himself. He's agreed to be interviewed this evening, and then once we've gotten all the information that we want out of Adam, just whatever he's willing to share with us, then we'll just have a general conversation. And if
Yeah.
you've been following this, recently, we've decided that we were going to do a camera on face actual interview with our core group. And so we did one. I interviewed Deb more recently. If you haven't seen that, you can watch that. I'm going
Definitely watch
to
that.
be interviewed myself coming up soon. And then I'm also personally going to interview Shayna and then April. So if you don't know who Shayna and April are, they're core team members that work with our community, and you'll love them if you haven't already met them. But this is great because in the world of crypto, getting to see people's faces, hear their voices, and actually get to know them a little better as individuals is relatively rare. It's something that's not it's not super common, and so it's exciting that a lot of our community members, they're not sharing their faces and their real names per se, but we're happy the ones that feel comfortable doing it. And we have a great relationship even with those who want to remain anonymous or undoxed. But tonight's all about Adam. So Adam, first question, where did the idea of the Captain come from?
Oh, so the captain came in. Actually, someone actually named me the captain. So it came around the meme coin season. And I remember with Shiba and a lot of the meme coins. And I was watching actually Captain Jack Sparrow. So I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean. So I was live just like this. I was watching it one day and Captain Jack Sparrow, and I was talking about meme coins at the time, and people in the comment line just say Captain, 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 and it just stuck. That's how I got
Okay.
started. So I was named, the community actually kind of named me, and I just kind of just went with it. I said,
Yeah.
I'm the Captain Inu of all the Inus. And that's how I got started. That was like
It
4
was an
years ago.
actual, you just kind of got called. That's a good story. Yeah. So that was 2021, I guess, or was it even before that?
2021, yeah. Yep.
2021. So yeah, it made me think about, I don't know if you remember that Bruce Springsteen got the nickname The Boss, and he was
Mm,
called The Boss. Elvis Presley, they called him the King, and King of
mm.
rock and roll. And it's funny that Bruce Springsteen's like, he said, I never liked that. Like, he got a nickname that he never liked, but
Yes.
his fans just called him the boss, and it just stuck. And he's been the boss, and he's just like, I never liked it, but what are you gonna do? So, but at least you're comfortable being called the captain, I guess.
Yeah, it just kind of stuck there, and I kind of just went with it, and it just stuck. I've just been called Captain ever since. And hey, Cap, how's it going? And I think in kind of crypto, it's good to kind of have another name, kind
Branding.
of, another name. That's just kind of what it is, kind of what you go by.
Yeah.
And it just kind of stuck there as well, and just kind of kept it there. And I was been a fan of Captain, and I was literally watching the movie Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yeah.
and someone kept saying Captain in the movie. They heard it, and then
Yeah.
we were talking about a bunch of NU tokens at the
Yeah.
time, and that's what it got
The
started.
captain is. So the captain's cap, which I see behind you.
Yeah,
So did you actually wear that to the Vegas event in 2021?
I did have the Captain hat. Yeah,
Yeah, captain
did
hat. So
have it.
it's
I
that's what I call branding for sure.
yeah, I had the hat, and
Yeah.
then yep, I got a white one and a blue one. Yeah, I had the hat there, and I was known as the captain there as well. So it was just it's branding and things like that, and just I just kind of named this kind of like the Captain Studios and things like
Captain's, yeah.
that, and then yeah, absolutely. So it's been a lot of fun ever
And
since.
and you have been in at least, I think, two cartoons, and you had the captain's hat on those. So if we've had 9 episodes of the SWP Studios animations, and more recently we did one that's not a different one that's not about Saitama Inu, but you were in a couple episodes that had to do with, actually, I think you might have been in one even other than the Vegas event, but you had the captain's hat on. So good stuff. So if you, I think you may have told me at some time in the past, but again, if I ask any questions and it's something that it's like, this is something that's you're not comfortable sharing, just say you prefer not to share, because
sure.
What did you do prior to YouTube and talking about crypto?
So I worked at the local university here, and I was actually working in finance and box office work, Ticketmaster work. So I was more into the customer service and also creating events inside of a programmer, more of a computer programmer / working for an athletic box office, selling tickets. And I was doing a lot of cashier work with bookkeeping and things like that. So I was like kind of like a jack of all trades at the university here. So yeah, I was doing that. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I see that you, in many of your videos, I see you doing breakdowns of like, if you get this much of the token and then this happens, this is how much you'll have there. Is that something that you like doing, working with spreadsheets and finance and math and stuff like that?
So I was doing a lot of it there, and I was like, man, this would be a good idea, because I saw a lot of people, sometimes you have to find like kind of your thing, and a lot of people was breaking down charts and things like that, which I can do, but I was like, okay, they got that part. So if I just break down, okay, if I buy 100 tokens, and if it goes here, how much do I need to go here? And I was doing a lot of those math stuff at work. At my previous job, I was doing a lot of crunching numbers about projections and things like that. And I was like, why not just bring it here? So I just called it the Captain Spreadsheet. And let me show you one more thing too. This is something I really have not told anybody. I actually wrote a couple of books too. I actually wrote a few children's books before that I really haven't really shared this at all. So yeah. So I did.
I didn't see published author underneath your
I probably should add that on there. Yeah. So before that, only reason I brought it up because the book was about to fall down on the bookcase. I was like, oh, let me show you that. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's interesting that the things that so tell me more about the children's books. So was that something you just decided to do at some point, or was there like a moral to the story, or what was the reason you did that?
There is. All right. So my niece, when she was younger, she liked to read books, and she likes me reading books to her. And in our house, I read every book in the house, every kid book, every regular book. And then one day she said, we're out of books. Why don't you write one? Because every night I would read her books. She's like, why don't you write one? I'm like, okay. So I wrote like a paragraph, and then she loved it. It's just like a paragraph, and then she's like, you should kind of keep going on this. So I just kept going on this paragraph, and then it became a story, and then it became a book. That's how I got started. I had nothing to do with, I was not even planning to write any books. And then that's kind of happened. It started from her. And to this day, she's grown up now. She still remembers that story. She's like, I got you to start writing books.
And so that was 2 different books, right?
Yeah, I wrote 4. That was just 2 there. So yeah.
So what did you do? You approached a publishing company, or you did self-publishing, or what did you do?
Yeah, so a self-publishing company reached out to me because I at that time I was just putting them on websites and sharing it, and I guess a self-publishing place found me and said, "Hey, we'll publish this for you." I was like, "Sure." I was like, "All right, okay." And then they asked me about illustrations and stuff, and it's like, "Yeah, we have an illustrator in the house," so they drew up the illustration. They did the whole thing for me. So it was just like a self-publishing company. Yeah, they offered to do it. I didn't even have to pay for it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah, they
cool.
just found me. Just they kind of saw my book. I was just sharing it, on websites and different things like that. And I don't know how they found it. They found it, and they're like, "Yeah, we like this." So, yep.
That's
And my
funny.
sister, she's a published author as well. She's an author. My sister is. So,
Okay. So, did you have any kids of your own, or was that, you mentioned your niece?
I haven't had kids yet. Would like at least one, at least one kid, but no kids.
Okay.
But probably at least one. Then let's
Hmm.
go one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little
That's
captain,
a mini captain. Okay. So, so how did you learn about crypto?
I learned about crypto back in 2016. I bought my first crypto. A friend told me to buy it. I didn't know what it was at the time. It was about 2016, and he said, "Hey, this is the next big thing at the time." And Bitcoin and crypto was very still new, so I bought it and I made a profit from it, and that's where it got me to start getting into it. So Bitcoin is my first crypto I bought, and then it was Ethereum, and then it was XRP in that order, and Litecoins later. So I bought it in 2016, and then around 2019, I started talking about it because the bull run had just eclipsed a previous bull run. And I was like, man, crypto is going to be the next big thing. At least I thought. And so I started talking about it in 2019, and then 2020, things just kind of went crazy.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So, yeah, that was the early days. So, were you able to buy it on an exchange, or did you have to actually like give somebody cash
I
for
had to
it?
give somebody cash.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally, 2016. Yeah. I think my first time was, I gave someone the money and they bought it for me.
Yeah.
So you're right, 100%. Yeah, it was 2015 or 16. I think 16, early 16. Yeah, early
Yeah.
16, like
It's
January, February.
no wonder non-crypto people think, especially then, that you're criminals. If you have to meet in a parking lot and give somebody cash, they're going to assume that it's something illegal going on, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
but
yeah,
but but you
100%.
didn't have exchanges. You couldn't use a credit card. You couldn't, typically I will wire money from my
Mhm.
bank to my exchange, and it works very well.
Yeah,
But you know, but I know that that hasn't always existed. You weren't
no,
always able to just send money back and forth instantly from your bank. So um,
yeah, you're right. And then even when meme coin started up, I had a friend of mine who bought Shiba like the second week of existence. It's a story I've always told. And at that time, Shiba was hard to buy. It was still in the early stages, it was early 2000, it was 2020. You couldn't buy it on the exchange.
no.
So you had to get it through the wallet. And the wallet, it just wasn't really user friendly. Let me just tell you that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yep.
yeah. So I had a friend of mine, the meme coin. That's where that came in, and I missed that rush because at that time I was into some of the bigger market cap type projects, and I ended up getting in late, but not as early as he did.
Yeah. Okay.
Second week he got it. Yeah, he called me. He said, "Man, it
And
just he said it's this thing called Shiba Inu." I was like, "Shiba Inu? What is that?" So yeah,
did he do well in the end with it?
him? Yeah. Oh my God. I told the story that he called me from the Lambo shop and said he was getting two. Now I didn't know he was at a Lambo shop. I heard noise and people talking and sound like a car dealership. I thought it was like Toyota or Kia. That's what I'm thinking. And I heard Lambo. I take a green one and a purple one. That's what I remember. And I said, green one and a purple one. And the lady was like, how would you like to pay for this? And the man said, cash on the phone with me. And I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, do you really? I'm sitting there, Lambos is up there. He said
Yeah.
cash,
Yeah.
cash. And it was a green one and a purple. I'll never forget about it. And then he asked me, are you gonna get one today? And I said, I looked at my wallet because I didn't get as early as he did. I didn't listen.
Right.
Didn't
Right.
listen.
Right.
I was like, well, I may have to do a layaway plan, or I may have to.
Yeah.
It's like, well, do they take payments? So he kind of laughed, and it was kind of funny. But he took two that home.
That is so funny. Yeah, that gives the sets the tone for the reputation that I think crypto has, that people do things like that. And yeah, and I mean, I experienced it, one time back then in 2021 myself, just knowing what it's like to see that craziness. So what are your thoughts about this bull run? What do you think is going to happen?
I think we're going to start the process, in my opinion, in the summer, because we got two rates. We have May and June. I think we're going to cut rates in June. That would be my guess. The interest rates. I think they're going to pause in this month, but I think they're going to cut in June. I think June is where I think things could really start up, probably this summer. And then I think it'll start to go up and down. And I think around that fall, I think that's where we'll probably potentially get our bull run. Probably in the fall. The early stages, probably in summer, we may get a little bit of a push. Because I think Bitcoin's going to go over 100K this month. I mean, it's just too close not to, unless they get some really bad news.
Yeah.
I think once you get over 100K, I think that would be like the back signal for some of the alts and some of the memes as well.
Yeah.
I think we'll push up a little higher. And then I think summer, like June, I think we'll get a little bit more of a push. Because then now if they cut interest rates, they're going to get more people to buy. And I think that's where I see it going. And I think fall, we're going to get crazy.
Sort of falls in line with what I'm thinking as well, and I'm just kind of thinking about what happened in 2021, more than, and I agree. I know that there's a lot of things that it's connected to, but I also, I think there's this paradox that investing in crypto would happen more when people are comfortable with the economy, when in reality, part of the logic of it is that the exact opposite, like buying gold, that you would think that people would buy crypto, let's say Bitcoin, when they're not comfortable with the economy. That's where, and there, for a lot of reasons, with the entire financial system. But as it is now, there's still that connection that it's like other investments. But I think at some point you could see that divergence where it's actually Bitcoin, flies to the moon because people, which could unfortunately mean that the other pieces, the traditional economy, there's like $400 trillion in the world's liquid assets, 400 trillion, and about 3 trillion are in crypto at this moment. So that's a big discrepancy, 400 versus 3. It doesn't take much of the 400 coming over here to the 3 to make us really happy that we got in early. Or we're still early in many ways. Think about it.
Yeah. And there was a study came out, less than 7% has invested into crypto globally. 7%. So if that 7 goes to like even events to 12 or 11, that's moving something. And they're going to go find something out there. So if you get like that 7% goes to like 15, that 7% is going to buy Bitcoin. They're going to buy Ethereum. They're going to buy altcoins. They're going to buy meme coins. So they're going to buy something. They're not, and most people are not going to buy one. They're going to buy multiple stuff. That's usually, it's like the grocery store. You just don't get there and get milk. You get milk, eggs, bread, honey.
Start looking around. Yeah. I mean, I learned, I always say, and I've thrown out this number. I have no idea, like the exact, is when people are like, well, how did you learn? I said, well, just watch YouTube for 500 hours and you'll probably know as much as I do. Like 500 hours of YouTube. And that's probably not like just a joke. Like, I mean, think about that 30-minute video here, a 30-minute video there. So 500 hours of YouTube about crypto. And for me too, it's like, it became my hobby. It really isn't like, it's not my job per se. It wasn't like a job. It was just a hobby. And then it actually became a passion that I'm like more interested in than my job. This is like, I don't do sports. I don't watch sports. Really? I don't play sports. I'm just like,
I was going to ask you that. Like, do you have a favorite sport? I literally was going to ask you that.
I'll watch whatever, like, if I went over to your house and you were watching football, I'll watch football, but I wouldn't be watching it at home. Wow. Yeah. I'm not
any golf, fishing,
no golf. No fishing. No, I'll go to the beach with my wife now and then and just, so it's, What about you? Do you play sports?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to play sports, watch sports. I mean, right now, I even watch hockey. So especially Florida, we've got two pretty competitive teams. So yeah, I definitely follow sports and play sports as well. And yeah, it's you got to have something to kind of get you, away from crypto, things like that. Sports
Yeah,
is usually not. It's just one of the things. One thing I really like to do. I really like going to the movies.
really.
Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I like going to the movies. Have you been to any movies lately?
No. I mean, I can't remember when the last time I went to a movie theater is. I watch on television, watch on my phone, but I've seen you posting pictures at the beach. So is that
Oh,
walking distance from your place? Or you just
yes.
drive short drive or?
Short drive, very
Mhm.
short drive. Yeah, very short drive. Probably can get there on it if I'm walking, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes, about 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 15-minute walk, but pretty close to it in Daytona. Like it's very close.
5-minute drive or like real you just
Just
gotta
over
find
the bridge.
parking. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so it's sorta like me. I just gotta go over a bridge and I'm at the ocean too.
Is it a big bridge? Is
Yeah,
it?
the causeway. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
same
called the
here.
Melbourne Causeway. There's actually like 3 or 4 bridges, that look very similar, and they're all causeways that go over it's called the Indian River, but I think you would call it the Intracoastal where you're at.
Yeah.
So, it's one of the causeways is right is basically the street. The street I live near is called 192, and 192 goes all the way from Orlando from
Yeah.
Kissimmee to the beach, and, that's 192 is like the main street in Melbourne. So,
Yeah. And you guys have a spring training facilities. I've been there a
yeah.
few times. I actually worked in that building. Yeah, I did some
Okay.
work there and a while back. Yeah, I did some volunteer work there on spring training. Yeah. Not a bad facilities. Like it
Yeah.
ain't bad at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to
Yeah.
be the Nationals. Is it
Yep.
still? No,
I don't know. It's up the
it
one up
used
in
to be.
Vieira, so yeah, they have this big, Megatron. I don't know if you know, like, above the baseball field, they've got this giant Megatron, and I actually, was gonna be playing a movie there one time as like a thank you for, like, a client
Really?
event. They let us rent it for an evening, and we were gonna have, like, 400 people come, and we
What?
got rained out twice. It kinda got put on hold, and then COVID hit, so it was
Mm.
we had the movie already lined up, but I was thinking the other day that it would be so cool to put our SWP cartoons that
Yeah,
one,
that
like,
would
we get
be if you
together
could
and
do
play it on the Megatron, even if it was just we somehow get it at a baseball game or something like that. Say,
and
"Listen,
it's
you're
a
gonna see it
seismic.
you're gonna see a couple minutes of it." We just put whatever we want up there just to see it and just film it being played in front of all those people. It would be pretty funny. I just think it would be kind of people would be looking like, well, if they think it's a funny cartoon or not, then they just maybe ask themselves, like, "What is that?" You know?
And it's not a bad facilities at all. It's really not.
Yeah, the
Like
giant Megatron. I never thought about watching a movie on that, but you can. I mean, the sound is good, the picture is clear, and you see it straight above, and it's huge. So,
wow, man. Wow. It's such a beautiful area down there. It really is. Like, are you like more inland? Like you're probably more inland, I'm
yeah,
guessing.
I'm inland a little bit. Yeah, I'm right near where the mall is, the
Really?
Melbourne Square Mall. Yeah,
Wow.
but yeah, the straight street is 192. Yep.
You must really like it there.
Yeah, just happens to be where I came from, before I moved to Sweden, and so I lived
Really?
here. My parents moved down here, originally when I was, like, 4 years old. So, I have a
Wow.
lot of roots in this town. So, it wasn't, like, by choice, but I
Right.
know a lot of people, and then when eventually went to high school here, and then I moved to Sweden when I was 19.
Oh, so you put some years down there. You put time in that
I
area.
was here, and then I moved back here 2004, and that's 21 years ago. So, I've been here 21 years. As
Wow.
and started got into real estate. So I've been doing real estate for 21 years.
Wow. And so when did you first buy crypto? When did that come in?
So I the company that I work for is all about training, education, and
Mhm.
development. And one of the things they encourage people to do is to have a coach, business
Right.
coach. And, coaching is just a really important thing for, in that culture, the company culture. So I had a coach since 2017 and loved the guy. I actually had one before that. It was with a company called Tom Ferry. And then I switched over to a guy named Dale, and he works for a company called Maps Coaching. And I had him for 7 years. So think so. I started with him probably 2018 with Dale. I had Tom Ferry from 2017, and Dale. Part of what he got me to think about was, part of the coaching is, hey, get really good at what you do, and you'll make a lot of money. But why are you doing it? And what are you going to do with the money? I mean, so essentially, he pushed really hard on to not see yourself as an agent, but see yourself as an investor.
Right.
And and this is kind of really a big mindset shift, is because that's what I think of for, everyone that I work with, but also, our community, a lot of community members, and I think for community members to see yourself as an investor more than a gambler, for sure, because I think a lot of us in the crypto world just get a taste for literally Las Vegas. We're gambling a little bit, but so he pushed really hard. He didn't tell me to get into crypto, but he got me to really start thinking about, in fact, he actually made me read this book. I don't know if you can see it, The Psychology of Money.
Oh,
I don't know if it's backwards on my screen, but The Psychology of Money. And one of the best books I've ever read, literally. And but also other books about investing. And so I started investing pretty heavily in different real estate, and I did really well on my own buys and sells. And so I kind of realized that I'd always done better on, I've usually made more money on buying and selling my own properties than I did in my job or anything else for that year, like any given year, including in real estate. So this was my commissions, and this was my profits from, buying and selling real estate. I made more on the investing. So I understood that being an investor is better than just being having a job. And so I was seeing myself as an investor when I stumbled onto crypto, and I used Robinhood, got some Dogecoin, I think was the very, very first. And
wow.
And that's how it all started. I started as just seeing myself as an investor, got into it, and then I started to just kind of get really into it. Like my brain just started going a million miles an hour about how all of this is now and how it's going to play out, and just and I happened to have some money at the time. I had a decent amount of discretionary money that I could invest, and so it was perfect timing with the bull run at that time just about to happen. So
yeah, and then 4 years later, there's another one.
Yeah.
You feel like you're more prepared this time than last? I mean, do you feel that? No,
knowledge wise, absolutely. And I think that it's interesting. So I've shared the story about. I don't know if you've ever heard of the guy named John Templeton.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had read about John Templeton, and I saw something that said he was like one of the greatest investors in history. So of course I'm like, well, tell me more. One of the greatest investors in history. And so John Templeton, apparently, in the Great Depression in the 30s, was basically looking at all of these companies, all these big American companies that their stocks were down to pennies on the dollar. It was almost as if, like, across the board, the entire Wall Street was just struggling. And he decided to take his life savings and put $100 on every major, and which got him a lot of stocks because of everything was just, the worst of the Great Depression. So he put $100 on each of the major companies in the United States. So he spread his money across the board, buying it very, very cheap in the Great Depression, and then just waited. He said, I knew that even if some of them did go bankrupt and disappeared, the entire American economy is not going to disappear. And he ended up being one of the wealthiest people in the world by the time that companies all came back.
Oh my God.
So it's an interesting
That's
idea.
right.
So I'm sitting here thinking like, man, that's a good story. So when I got into in May of 2021, this is long before, well, actually not long before, it's before Saitama Inu, and before I bought Shiba Inu,
Yeah.
I took $30,000 and I put it in Coinbase, and I decided to be a John Templeton, and so I go and buy $1,000 of 30 different cryptos because
you did that.
I had just watched that many of those same cryptos had done like a massive pump already, between 2021 and between 2020 and 2021. So I'm watching they had already done so well. I'm thinking they're just going to continue. And I thought the same logic that, okay, even if half of them go down and one of them does a 10, like I'm just figuring that I'm really well protected. I'm thinking. So this was in about May 15th of 2021. So if you know what I'm talking about, that was the peak of the first pump of the year. All 30 of my tokens went to about $500. Almost every single one of them went down to about half. So I look up, my 30,000 was now 15,000. I'm looking at my Coinbase. I'm like, so yeah. And the funny thing about that story is if I had just been like super patient, it would have been a success story. It really would have. I know that
it went back up.
I think I actually pulled out most of them and put whatever was like that money over into SHIB, and from SHIB I went over to Saitama. I was early in Saitama.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So but that's how I got started, and I put in more money. I put in more. So but it's kind of funny is that you have these like the logic of, hey, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
That's a really important question. Honestly, it really is for any of us in this. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's your strategy? And at what point you're going to take profit, or what point you're going to do this, or what point you're going to do that. And you've got to plan it out in advance so you disconnect the emotion from the investing, because when you're running on pure emotion, you get played. It just takes a dip and you make a mistake. So yeah, that was and at that point when I got into Saitama, I was actually got really, really hardcore. And it had to do with, I didn't understand how bad the crypto market is, like how many rug pulls there are. Yeah. But I was going on my intuition of, I had people telling me, pull out, you've made money, pull out. And I'm just said to myself, this is a really important point. I still feel the momentum.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm not selling. I still feel the momentum. And that's like true. And I was right.
You're right.
Because this was, you're talking about in, June, July, August, September, October. It wasn't until October where it was like straight up.
Right. Crazy.
But it was like, I still felt the momentum. And I think that's the key factor of, there's a lot of FUD. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, hey, this could go wrong. Yeah. You could get hit by a bus too. A lot of things can go wrong.
Yeah.
But knowing that, you've got the intuition of, there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees on anything, but you can't get shaken from your conviction, because it's almost like there's a lot of people that want to shake you from your conviction. That's like, they want to do that. And when you look and it's like, what is your goal? You know what I mean? And I think it would be very interesting to see if everybody wore their net worth calculator on their sleeve.
Yep.
And then you heard their advice. That would be a different game, wouldn't it?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Everybody, you have a public net worth. It's right here. And then they say, blah, blah, blah. Say, oh, good. You're the broke one. Great. Thanks for your advice. But nobody knows. Everyone's anonymous, and which is the way the world is. I mean, for the most part, people
want to be anonymous. Yeah.
And the ones that try to say they're rich are not. And the ones that are that
Right.
are not say they are, and
Yeah.
the loudest advisors are usually the broke ones, and people who
Hmm.
have a lot of money don't talk much.
They don't say much. They don't say much. They kind of just move. You don't know when they're
Rip
moving
it. Yeah,
sometimes.
that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. I
That's
know.
funny.
Yeah. It's definitely crypto is definitely a learning experience. I mean, you really learn where you go. You have to experience it and then you have to learn from there. Because I think a lot of time I think we use crypto as like I don't know. I think sometimes we sometimes put too much pressure on ourselves. We actually talk ourselves out of it, or anxiety happens. So I think sometimes we do it to ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many different, like, in every video, like when, especially in the early days, it's like I was tiptoeing around trying to say, this is not financial advice. This is not financial advice. And I was thinking, like, I don't know to what extent anybody from a liability perspective thinks that a person on YouTube talking about crypto is giving them financial advice. But, there's so many different ways of looking at it that, the idea of you get into something that's going, that you've got a stop loss mindset. You've got an idea that um, you take out your initials, for example.
Yeah.
That truly is such a good concept, because
Hmm.
if somebody's, you've gotten a 2x, a 3x, a 4x, and you take out your initials, at that point, you truly can't lose, right?
You
If you've
can't.
gotten your initial back, you can't lose. And you're playing with house money. You actually now are in a position where you could lose what you initially put in on something else, but at the same time, you've got and let that ride. I think what happens is people actually get greedy, and they borrow money and gamble it and lose, and then they want
Um,
to blame someone that advised them, and they didn't do enough research.
yeah. It happens. The initial thing, you're so right about it. Or just put as much as you're willing to lose. So if you
Yeah,
didn't like, hey, I'm putting 300 and if I lose it, I'm good. But I think what we do, we put 3,000 in there. And then that's 2,700 is like
yeah, yeah,
you're just sitting there like very, very nervous about
yeah.
everything. So it's a learning lesson
It
for us
is.
all.
Yeah, I learned a lot, and what's funny is that the the sad part about the story of what I learned in 2021 is that one of the things I learned, or what got me to a really good success level, is that I felt that there was a unique community because it was docs, devs who showed their faces,
Yeah.
kind of like we're
Yes.
doing. And then in the end, that wasn't truly a protection.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, in the beginning, I was just like, no, these guys, I've looked them in the eyes. I've looked up, I can see them with their families on Facebook. Like they're not gonna, they're legit. They're not gonna do anything wrong. And then in hindsight, it's funny that I think how we differentiate ourselves a little bit too is looking back at the peak of the cycle. I
Mhm.
could have pulled out. And it's funny that I'm literally like really concerned about the community. Like, what would it do to the community if I pulled out, X number of millions, and would I hurt the community? Like, and I understand that most people probably wouldn't care at all. It's like, give me mine. I invested it. I'm going to take mine. I'm going to take it and go, and not care about, like, and I think there was two sides of it. I'm not trying to blow my own horn, because it was a mistake. In hindsight, it was a mistake not to, you know, uh, take significant profits when I could have, but
Mhm.
also, concerned about what it would do to the community.
Right.
But also, I literally believe that it was the start of a tipping point where crypto was just going to become mainstream. And I think it was it was the Super Bowl of 2020 in 2022, where they had crypto commercials on the Super Bowl. And I'm
Mhm.
like, there's just no way that this is going to like go back. The entire market is going to go back. And by that point, Bitcoin went from 69,000, and it didn't take long with FTX and everything. It was down to 15,000.
That's true.
So it very well, I think that was probably the biggest lesson for me. I heard people who were much more experienced. It was my first cycle. They said, you're going to think that it can't get like much worse, and it can. And I'm not believing that, because I had only experienced, I literally felt like at that point, like I was all this books that you might read about someone who's won the lottery, like what happens to them in their life and in their brain. I experienced that.
Yeah.
And so that's not the same as investing. That's like almost like someone winning the lottery. It's a little different. And I think that there's a lot of negatives to it as well. Honestly, what it does to your children.
Oh yeah,
Go tell
absolutely.
your children to work super hard and, and work for $15 an hour really, really hard, if they're thinking dad just made, all of that easy. And it's so easy to make millions and millions of dollars. And it's damaging, actually,
Yeah,
because it
it
makes it
can
really
be.
hard to say, no, you need to work really hard for everything. They're like, no, that's not how it works.
It's not.
it's a
It's
it's a
it's really
story.
not smarter. It's just working smarter and really strategizing and having a plan. And I mean, there's hard work into it, but it's a more of a mental thing. It's more of a strategy thing. If I work hard, it's going to be more strategy of using my time to work hard. So yeah, I think it's more like working more on yourself than your. Someone said that working
Jim
more on
Rohn.
yourself than your.
Jim Rohn, yeah.
Damn, Jim Rohn, live. My goodness, he's right, and Jim Rohn was absolutely right about that.
Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he was great, Jim Rohn. So let me ask you this: so your channel, your work as an influencer, what is your vision of where this is going to lead you in the future? Is it you're planning on just keeping it just like it is and working with communities? And do you have any visions of anything bigger or connecting with
Yeah.
or changing anything in the future?
Yeah, definitely expanding out. So I'm doing more, also just doing more company product stuff. So they send me products and I actually kind of talk more about them. So I've been doing a lot. There's a couple of things out here, like these headphones here. I did some marketing with them as
Okay.
well. Yeah, headphones and tripods. Some of the stuff here has been traded from other companies, and I'm just kind of like just promoting on different channels and things like that. So just more expanding out. Yeah, definitely expanding out. I also teach social media on Wednesdays. It's just through this networking marketing company. So I just teach them how to create content. So they come in, it's about 30 or 40 people in. I've been doing it for the last 3 years. And they
Wow.
come in, yeah, they got part-time jobs and they just want to make a side income. And all I'm doing is helping them create content on their, whatever they want to do. So I show them how to create content on YouTube and Twitter and things like that. Show them, how to create content from their mobile phone and things like that. So I teach that
Oh,
too as well. Yeah, I
that's
don't really
cool.
say this a lot, but yeah, I do. Like every week. Yeah, it's been 3 years now. So
That's cool.
I teach social media. Yeah, teach how to grow an audience and um, look for the right hashtags. Those type of things.
I
Mhm.
think there's in for the foreseeable future, there's absolutely always going to be a need for somebody to talk about products, somebody to teach social media,
Mhm.
and of course somebody to talk about cryptos. Is not
Mhm.
those are not things. I think the addition to that that's probably going to be right there is people who talk about AI or work with AI or teach people how
Mhm.
to use AI. I think that's going to be another one that's like
Yeah.
people who aren't into any of these things, they need someone to hold their hand and help them.
Yeah, and on my channel, I actually do a lot of AI. So I program these AI models, and they just do like crypto news type stuff. So it's like three goes out every day, and it's just basically crypto news and what happened in Bitcoin, what happened in the White House. So I've been doing that for the last 4 or 5 months. It's just these AI models to kind of give you the information, and I just post it on channels and stuff like that. So that way, like you just said, that way you can really, AI is going to be here like completely here. It's already here now.
Yeah.
So yeah, just more of a more well-rounded business in terms of content creation.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it seems like I don't know. I don't know if like most of the people that I think were doing content in 2021, I think most of them that I remember are still around. I don't know if there's any that are that just stopped, because it seems like in the last year I've come across a lot of the guys and gals that I remember from having. I don't know if they maybe took a break there in 2022,
Mhm.
2023, but seems like everybody's still back in
Yeah.
in their channels doing stuff.
Yeah, they're still there. I mean, they might not be as aggressive like they were back in the day because they were like they would be pumping out a bunch of stuff all the time. I think it's more they just have their own strategy. They may be actually at other businesses and things like that. So, but they're still there, and they're definitely more will kind of come back or come new
New
once
people.
things starts to run up. You'll see like you. I haven't seen you in 3 4 years, so you'll have that. You'll have new people talking about it. You have your OGs. You have different people. So it's definitely gonna happen. It's just too much happening in crypto for it not to.
Yeah.
I mean, the adoption of it and just the fact that this new White House just really wants this to be crypto capital of the world and all that kind of stuff.
I'm excited about that. I mean, we were all talking back when everybody's wallets were at our peak. A lot of people were talking about like, how am I going to be able to, you know, strategize the tax situation as they off ramp that money. And
Hmm.
I think it might be a very different situation this bull run. It seems that way for people to be able to off ramp, or if they have to do it through an
Right.
LLC or whatever they have to do. But than it was then, and people won't have to sneak around and and try to do something which is essentially not legal, but they could actually make good money in crypto and still not get killed with taxes if that's what if
Yeah.
that's what the tax code is at the time. So that will be very, very interesting to see
That
that
would.
development.
Yeah, that would be, and even with the SEC now, you have a new person in charge that's pro crypto, which we've never had before, and
Yeah.
it's all these things that's happening that we've never had. But then the last bull run, there was no ETFs, like we
Right.
tried,
Yeah.
it's just not. Now you have all these ETFs. I saw somebody talking about trying to do a Doge ETF. Now,
I saw
come
that
on,
too. I saw
that's
that too.
great.
That is
Doge
crazy.
ETF.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
just the tokenomics of it actually would be very concerning for me, but hey, to each his own.
That's crazy. But I mean, actually, if there's enough demands, enough votes, it could happen. Like
Yeah.
it will happen
Yeah.
probably if they want it. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, so it sounds like there's going to be a demand for for services like this, right? To be
Yes.
on film. I remember in 2021 when back when it became my hobby. I
Yeah.
literally woke up, and I'm going about my business. I'm like, okay, I just want to see what's happening. And I would go on YouTube and I would look at whoever's channel is giving something new about Shiba Inu, about whatever token I was in, then about Saitama Inu, what's going on. And sometimes you only got like 30 minutes. So I'm like, I'm ready for this is my only like I'm not watching movies on Netflix. I'm just looking for what's going on. And I would literally only get like 30 minutes. And it was one of the things that was like, there's a demand here, because even if it's, at one point there was like 300,000 people on that one token, there's probably like half a million, then eventually a million at that time on SHIB. It's like there's
Hmm.
people that just want to know what's going on with a token,
Yes.
and there's very few people. And to be perfectly honest, some of the YouTubers were not very good. They
Oh.
were Some of them were kids that like like what they were saying didn't make any sense. It wasn't like it. Some of them were just like, and they didn't last. Like so it was just they were looking for they tried it, but it didn't come out very well. And
Right. Understood.
so I'm just saying that's looking for decent content, and it was hard. And that's where I'm thinking that there is a demand for it. And that's really part of what I'm looking at. Is there any way to break into crypto content on mainstream media? Because that's literally almost non-existent. You don't actually have any like logical, like a real content talking about true educational content. You might have, it's usually just kind of a sensational story about mentioning Bitcoin. There's very, very rare do you ever hear anything going a little deeper into what's going on with crypto in a mainstream news or streaming platform or anything like that.
I think it's coming just because it's just where we're headed. I think you're going to have, they have to.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're trying to avoid it. You're right. They're trying to avoid it and give it all these things like we don't trust it. We need security. Once regulations are more clear, that's what I think we're going to get it. That's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once it's more clear and more transparent, that's what I think that they have no excuse now. And by then, Bitcoin could be 125,000.
Yeah.
And then you're like, then you got to address this. You can't hide it. You look up and Bitcoin's 125. You can't hide it.
No. And I when I have talked to people, and of course, I would love to I would love to just tell everybody go buy SWP. But I can tell that some people, it's like, you're encouraging them to buy a meme token. But as a starter, just buying Solana, you're getting partway there. And so Solana at $150, by the time you get to 600, like whatever it's going to be in the bull run, who knows? But even so, say 600, that's a solid 6x. That's probably more than you're going to get from Bitcoin this time around, right? So I mean, it's like there's some semi simple safe plays that people can do. Of course they could buy Bitcoin, of course they could buy XRP, or but even Solana I think is a very simple one because it's one of those things is that in my opinion it's not going to stay at $150 through the bull run. It doesn't make any sense. There's so many people using it. It's so many memes that are using Solana. And just to look at a what's a relatively safe, let's just say 6x to 8x, that's still massive for a conservative investor. And you can do it on Coin. You don't have to be even on the blockchain. You can do it on Coinbase. Really, really simple. So
it's a good starter. You're right. I mean, you get that, and then you can move over to your memes like SWP and other ones. But just start simple. Absolutely.
You've already got your money. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really the ulterior motive with that. It's like, number one, I doubt that anyone's going to come back and say, okay, Solana went to $70 in the bull run. I don't think so. It's going to be, they're going to be pretty happy one way or another, right? Not the 100x happy, but they'll be happy. But then they'll have all that extra money, where they can go into the memes and they don't even have to swap tokens, right? They have Solana made a nice pump. You've got profits. Hey, go to a meme and get even more explosive profits, because that's the difference. That's what happens with memes. So what are your thoughts about on-chain? Have you looked into it at all?
I did look into it. I mean, I think it's good, man. I think that they're going in the right direction, especially with the transparency. And if they can nail down that simplicity, they can nail it down. That's the thing. That's the only thing I'm saying. The wording looks fine. Is that simplicity steps where people are like, they feel comfortable. They nail that.
Yeah.
That's it.
So if you go to onchain.money, it's not live, but you can actually see the and you get a flavor for it. I don't know if they probably don't want me sharing that, but you go there, you can actually see what it's going to look like. And yeah, it's just basically you go there.
Part. Yeah,
and it's so simple. I mean, it's literally there's no other buttons to push. It just says like how are you getting the money in? What are you buying? And then it's the first ever completely decentralized exchange where all the tokens are not at the exchange; they're on the blockchain,
On the
and
blockchain.
they're all on the blockchain, and it creates literally. You click a button with a Gmail, you say log in with Gmail, it creates a wallet for you instantly.
There you go.
You didn't need to save your key seed phrase. You can see it. You can actually push on it. It takes 2 seconds. You can push on it and say, oh, there's my seed phrase. You don't even need it. Just use your Gmail. And you get that set up. Purchase. What are you going to buy? It's so simplistic. And they launched it last week. And as you know, at the big conference that I think it was in Dubai. But they're still in beta testing on actual putting funds, different currencies through it. Right. There's still beta testing going on. And what's going to happen is, assuming everything goes well, they fix some bugs, then they're going to release more blockchains as they go. So I think based on what I'm seeing is that it will be a game changer. And the timing, I think, is amazing because technology wasn't there before. They've got it now. By the time it's fully up and running, will be hopefully right about the time the bull run is really kicking in.
That must be their plan. There has to be. Sounds like it.
I think they've got patents on some of those, some of those systems, and they've built out some things. They've got. If you look into who the big investors are behind them, it's the big dogs in crypto. It's the biggest companies in crypto are connected to investing in this company, and they're doing some amazing stuff. So I'm excited about that, and I've got it confirmed that we will be on the platform. It's just depends on when the Solana blockchain's up and running. Our token will be one of the ones people can swipe a card and buy, and we'll be able to have a link that all they need is that link. Share that link, click, swipe their card. It's literally a no-brainer process versus what we used to do.
Yeah.
Where it took like 2 hours of training to help somebody to buy tokens. It just took too long. It was too much, too many steps.
And I think that right there, that's why more people probably doesn't buy crypto because of that, because it's too many steps, and it's you got to buy Ethereum or Solana and swap it for this, keep this, it's a lot of steps there. But yeah, Unchained definitely is on the right trajectory. Exactly what we need.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that. So anything you'd like to say, Adam, to wrap up our conversation?
This has been a good conversation. Yeah, man. I think, we were talking about the bull run. I just think that, patience, because it was like this in 2021. It was kind of sluggish, up and down. Same thing. It was around this time in 2021. It was very similar. It has similar feel, but we got more firepower because you have institutional is actually buying Bitcoin. BlackRock was not coming out saying, yeah, I'm going to buy another this. You didn't see any. That didn't exist. Did not exist.
Bitcoin is far above what it was at the peak of 2021 right now. So we're not in the bull run, but we're already significantly above.
What was it, 69,000? Was
69,000. What is it now? 95?
95, 94, 95?
Let me see. So yeah, I mean, it's like it is it's clear that there's, so let's see, 94,500. So let's say it's been 95 and 69 and we're in a bad market. It's like, yeah, I mean, we've been right up at about 3 trillion in market cap, and the peak was much larger. It was like 3.9 trillion, I think, 3.6 trillion maybe. But it's still a strong market if we're already sitting pretty solid that much above the 69,000, the peak of 2021. It just shows that just where are we going to land when it actually takes off, like the real takeoff. And I think it's gonna, it takes that FOMO. And the sad part about it is that people who they wait for the FOMO, they're the exit liquidity. The people who are early are the ones who make life-changing money. So it's just one of those things. It's like the ones that are patient, get in early,
Right.
and just don't touch it. Leave it. Leave it. That's the old saying, is that people, the craziest thing about crypto, which exposes human nature, is that the wealthiest Bitcoin holders are either dead, they lost their passwords, or they're in jail.
Yeah.
They're the wealthiest. What does that say about human nature? Is that if you're alive, not in jail, and haven't lost your password, you would have messed up and sold it. Those are the wealthiest people in the world, and they can't touch it. It's like we mess ourselves up because we go in and we sell because of FUD or whatever's going on. It's like if somebody could just tie our hands, you could end up wealthy.
Yeah.
It's a funny
100%.
reality.
It's a complete reality. And I think if you've been through the process, you're gonna hold something a little bit longer. I think you're gonna understand that better.
Yeah.
Because once you didn't hold and then that went off, and then you're gonna be,
yeah.
I mean, it may take a few times, but then
I think the fear of something going to zero is the thing, and obviously crypto goes to zero, far more. Like real estate basically almost never goes to zero. Real estate almost always has a 4% appreciation. Stocks can go under, but in general, it depends on what they have, their assets. It's like, but cryptos can go to zero. But I think that, but there's plenty of projects that once somebody knows what's going on, it's just a matter of time. And that's just as a side note, I think it's the 14th of this month, we're celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the One Punch Man, which was the Saitama on Soul. It'll be exactly 1 year since it launched.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And a lot of us got into it within a few days. And so we were thinking of having a reunion. I don't know exactly. We're going to figure out how we're going to do like a reunion episode. And I want to get back everybody who was active even in that at that time period, even if they're not holders anymore, even if they're not part of the community. It's kind of like those reunions they do on reality TV shows. And after they've done, they just aired the whole season, and then they have one episode where they get everybody into the studio who was in the whole thing. That's what I was thinking. We get like Faltron and Yaktown and Jules, and I don't know if Mr. Prince would be, but maybe Princess, and like everybody who was active back then a year ago. See if we can get them all in the same room and just do a reunion episode and record it and see if they're like a space.
They may be willing to do something like that.
Just go up in a space. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, why not, man?
1 year.
That's crazy.
It's been 1 full year, and it's funny. Like there's been a lot that's happened in that 1 year, and believe me, I'm not thinking that most of them went off and made millions of dollars. Don't think that. I don't think so. I really don't. Maybe some of them did well, and then some of them did well on this or that, and then they lost it on this or that and got rugged. It's been a weird year.
Yeah.
You got people who are jumping around. All I can say about people who shield tokens, look at their track record, because some of them like, oh, they're shilling this, that's exciting, and then you look back and literally everything and they'll delete like the ones they've shilled, everything that they've shilled, like going back for how long, it's like been like total disasters. And if you figure out they're not shilling it until they've got their position. So they're going to like, it's like a lot of that's like some of these ones, it's like, and you see it as a pattern. It's like, that's scary because like you wouldn't hear a word until the group, the core group
right. You got your position, and then
and then I'm like, hey, I'm going to get in. It's like, yeah, you may get it, but you better be ready to pull out, because it's just a pattern, and that's a tough way to live. You know what I mean? I was like, I love the fact that I can go to bed tonight when I go to bed, even if it's, down, our market cap's down. When I wake up tomorrow, it'll probably be about the same. Maybe it's gone up, but I'm like some of those projects, you go to bed and it's scary. Like you want to set an alarm for 3 a.m. and check and see, like, do I need to panic in the middle of the night because of what's happening? I can't live like that. I can't live
No,
like that. No way.
no,
I gotta.
no, no. No. That's those ones that it's that high risk. Like it's yeah. And you can kind of tell on a mile away. You're like, yeah. But some
It's a tough gig, I think, to be a real degen trader. That's a tough gig because you it's not it's not a slow process. It's a fast moving. And I always find like I
Mhm.
like my sleep. So sometimes if I bought a token, I'm like, this is a cool token, and I would look at it and I'm like, it's okay, it's 9 o'clock at night, and then it gets to be like 11 o'clock. I want to go to bed, and I'm like, I don't know what to do because I'm up, but I could wake up and it's just the devs or somebody has like half the supply. They just dump it all, and you wake up and you have nothing. So it's like you almost have to not sleep.
Yeah.
You got to be on your computer and you not go to work. Be on your computer 24/7, and it would be easier to just track all the investments. Not the kind of person who buys something and actually goes to work and then goes to sleep. Like this. That doesn't work. Yeah. So good stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. I love it,
Thank
and
you, man. It was a great conversation.
we will keep in touch. It'll be exciting to
Yeah.
see as we move forward into the bull run. So I'll conclude
Yeah.
by saying, "Oh, Captain, my Captain."
Yes.
That's from
Yes.
the
Great.
Dead Poets Society movie.
Oh, great movie.
You
Oh
remember
my
that
God.
one?
Yes. Oh yes. The great Robin Williams.
Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. All right, man.
Thank
We'll
you,
talk.
Captain.
It has been a pleasure. The great Tom Real Estate. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Thanks, Adam. Bye bye.